If you do not learn how to effectively communicate your opinions, your thoughts, your feelings, anything, your life is going to be substantially more challenged. And it's going to be harder to grow your business. It's going to be harder to get a job. It's going to be harder to succeed in life, harder to get a spouse, harder to make friends. Life is way more difficult when you are a poor communicator, when you don't express things effectively. Everybody knows someone that when they are trying to tell a story of something that happened the other day or make a point, they just simply can't do it. They just don't have the cognizant ability to effectively talk about a fucking scenario that happened, and it makes everyone confused. And I know that I still get stumped with this. I'm constantly trying to improve my speaking ability. When I have a business where I am usually in the room with some incredibly successful business owners that are doing 9+ figures per year, if I am trying to close them on a deal, you have to be so ridiculously sharp and understand what you're saying and be able to get to the point and not waste time. Sell yourself on them why they should take on my business, because that's really what happens. People are buying into you as a person, and the only way that they can rationally buy into you is how you present yourself. How you present yourself is one, how you look, how you act with some degree of confidence, how you talk effectively about what you are going to do for them. And because of that, I virtually have unlimited opportunity, and I don't think I'm a great communicator. I quite literally started making videos 4 or 5 years ago because I knew that I needed to become a better speaker. And at first, when you sit down and try and talk to a camera, it is one of the most challenging things in the entire world, because your entire brain just goes completely blank and you have no clue what to say or how to say it. As you continuously practice over time, it becomes easier, and these skills correlate. Now, when I'm negotiating with someone or when I'm in some sort of conversation, because I've practiced speaking so many times over and over and over again, I can naturally have a conversation better. I can naturally speak better without stuttering, make a coherent thought that makes sense. And I would still only say that I'm like a 6 out of 10 being able to communicate effectively. I constantly get stumped in conversations. Not a great storyteller, which is something that I'm trying to practice. Highest form of being able to really educate someone is by doing it through having them come to their own conclusion. Best way to do that is through storytelling, to be an engaging speaker. Let's take the opposite of what I said at the beginning. We all know someone that is a terrible speaker. What about someone who's a great speaker? Everyone has an uncle. I know that I do. There's one person in particular that I'm thinking about. He can literally tell the best story in any manner, and it makes everybody super engaged. And who does not want to be heard when they are talking? Who does not want people to be engaged in what you're saying? The only way they're engaged, how you use your words, the emotion that you portray when you're saying it, the words and why you're using them. If you are making sense, if you are pronunciating your words, you don't realize how much better life gets when you can communicate effectively. And you really don't realize how bad of a talker you are until you start to be self-aware and start to take yourself accountable. What I started to do is, when I first started making videos, is I would edit them myself and I would have to watch them over. Josh, holy fucking shit. You sounded very inconfident. You used all these filler words. You never made your point. You would backtrack. I couldn't even fucking follow what you were saying. You were stuttering like a bitch. Being self-aware of that allowed me to actually take actionable steps at practicing. A lot of people, and I used to be one of these people that just said, I'm just not good at talking. I'm not a great communicator. You're not really great at anything when you start. The only way you get better is by actually practicing. I have the belief system that pretty much anyone in the world has the ability to run a marathon. Some people are substantially overweight, out of shape, have not worked out in a very long period of time, and it would take that person potentially years of training before they could run a marathon. Someone could be naturally blessed with incredibly genetics. They could have eaten well their entire life and they could run a marathon with virtually no training. Both people could get to the finish line. It would take them different lengths of time of practicing. You may be incredibly bad at talking now, but how long does it take until you become better? Now, especially that I'm starting to get a lot of speaking engagements because I have a business where I help a lot of large businesses. I'm in the rooms with some very successful people. And one of the most important things that you have to do is talk with extreme confidence in what you are saying and what you are going to do, and then being able to present your ideas in a very effective manner. And so now that I'm having speaking engagements, I'm really trying to hone in, how the fuck can I make the audience more engaged? When I listen to a presentation of someone, I go to a lot of conferences. A lot of my clients come from conferences. What I do is, I'm not just watching the presentation, I try and watch the audience, because the audience will show you if people are interested in what this guy is saying. At the end of the presentation, if he has some sort of sales pitch, are people going to buy what he is selling? Is he emotionally investing the audience into what he's talking about? Because that is actually the most persuasive persuasive argument? Who engulfed the audience the best way, made them feel a certain way? And the people that give the presentations that have the audience the highest engagement rate is not the person who is just giving stat after stat after stat and trying to give someone more and more and more and more information. It's usually the person that can make someone feel a certain way. How can you portray an emotion onto someone? Great speakers know how to give the emotion that they felt at the time to the person that they are talking to. There's one person in particular, a client of mine is Robert Kiyosaki, and I would also say he's a great friend and mentor. Potentially one of the best in the world at is giving presentations, fucking given thousands and thousands and thousands. But what he does so well is he makes the audience feel anything. It doesn't matter if it's anger, excitement, motivation. That's actually what it takes to get into a high degree of power in politics. What politician makes the audience feel a certain way? That's actually how cults and revolutions start. Or someone like Andrew Tate literally became one of the most famous people on the entire planet because he was a good communicator and could make people feel a certain way with his emotions. And he makes young men feel motivated and ambitious and powerful. And I'm not saying to become a good presentator so you can start a cult and start some sort of revolution, but it is vitally important if you want to do very well in life. Unless you're just some genius coder where you can just sit on your laptop and create fucking AI. Even then, to get clients and to convince people to work for you, you have to be able to present your ideas in an effective manner, just regardless of what you want to do in life. It's something that is way too important. Practicing communication for me has actually had one of the highest ROIs on my life in terms of developing better friendships, better relationships, making more money than most other skills, especially if a lot of people are into self-help. That's had a way higher impact on anything than any of those self-help books.